Hey, what's going on, Eagles Nation? This is Steve Hyder here with the Gate City Sports Channel. And man, since I've been gone, I did a little first quarter analysis of the Eagles Jacksonville preseason game and decided to take the weekend off. And man, the Eagles have been active. So today's episode, let's talk about this quarterback situation. Let's talk about all these additions the Eagles are making. You know, are they significant? Are they going to make the roster? Does this mean the Eagles are going to trade some players? It's hard to say. All right, let's get into it. Okay, guys. So let's start off and let's just go through a rundown of some of the craziness that's been happening. So, to begin with, the first move, kind of backtracking a little bit, was the Eagles really getting rid of linebacker Joey Alfieri early on, which was a little bit of surprise to me because heading into camp, prior to camp, it looked like the Eagles were actually a little higher. The coaching staff and the scouting department looked a little higher on Joey Alfieri than they did TJ Edwards. Now, from the fan base, we were all a little higher on TJ Edwards because, the college film tape, but most of us kind of had an understanding who Joey Alfieri was as well. But boom, first big move made, right? Joey Alfieri's let go. Um, they did that, if I remember correctly, to bring in tight end Alex Ellis because we got our first kind of camp type of situation as a tight end. So we brought in somebody. And Joey Alfieri was the person who suffered for that. Some of the other bigger moves that I can kind of remember happening is, to begin with, we end up having a situation where Joe Osman, who looked like he was going to make the roster at defensive end, goes down, and we bring in Kasim Edebali to take his place. Who was guy's been around the league for a little while and serviceable camp body. Not someone really a big threat to make the roster, but a serviceable camp body. Um, Past that, guys, we had the situation of Blake Countess going down and getting that injury settlement. And this was a guy that, for a while looked like he could make the roster. It looked like he was going to be a pretty decent special teams player for the Eagles. He goes down, and we bring in defensive tackle Aziz Shitu, someone that Shitu, whatever, someone who's been in Eagles camp before. This is a good camp body. Someone who's probably not really a major threat to make the roster, but nonetheless, there we go. Some other things that happened. It looked like the Eagles were a little concerned at defensive end, and we end up making a trade. The Bills, very desperate for tackle play, hit us up about Ryan Bates. Or is it Ryan or Brian? I think it's Brian Bates, or Ryan, I don't know. The kid out of Penn State looked like a decent ball player. Looked like a kid that could be a really good candidate for the practice squad for the Eagles. And the Bills were really desperate, so we traded him out. We got a really good return value on that. And Eli Harold. Eli Harold in any other year, I think, would probably be a lock to make the Eagles roster. But dude, we are so deep at defensive end. There's no way I can confidently project him onto the roster. And this is a good football player. So that's another video coming up, man. Let's talk about this insane depth we have at defensive end. But that happened. Um, some other things that recently happened while I was gone. Paul Warlow gets let loose. I think this was the most talented linebacker we had on the roster, but just never healthy for the Eagles. Never really saw him step foot and play any significant snap with meaning for the Eagles, unfortunately. In order to do that, we bring in another young athletic prospect and Chris Worley. We'll see. I'm not sure where to put that. I only think we're going to carry 5. We may sneak a 6 linebacker on, but I doubt it. So 5 linebackers, possibly a 6. Chris Worley would probably add to that intrigue over this next couple of weeks with TJ Edwards to see. Could be camp bodies. These could be camp bodies with practice squad potential. Braxton Miller was let go. To me, that wasn't as big a surprise. I didn't think he really had a shot at the 53-man roster. He's been around for a while, and no, I didn't see it. I know some people are really high on him. No, we're way too deep at wide receiver. Let me look. Oh, Shelton Gibson was let go. That one was shocking. Another one along the lines of Blake Countess, where special team specialist who he was good. He was very good at his role there. Another guy that kind of has that fit in that field, but I think has more utility in his actual position would be Wendell Smallwood, who's a very good special teams player. But Wendell Smallwood also does all the little things really good in the running back room. So he can pick up blitzes. He can run between the tackles. He can catch balls out of the backfield. He's just not exceptional at everything. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But man, we had a lot of moves getting made. Probably none of them as big as the next two moves I'm going to talk about, which was the signing of a veteran quarterback, right? We finally bringing a vet to play quarterback for us, which is going to be really interesting in Josh McCown. And we also signed this kid named Brett Toth to a deal coming out of Army. Go Navy. Just going to add that in there. Go Navy. Brett Toth comes in, really adding some intrigue to the offensive line position. So let me dive into a little bit here and just let you see what I see coming from those two major moves. Okay, Josh McCown, prototypical quarterback size, 6'4", 218 pounder. We probably like him to add about 5 pounds or so, but my man's 40 years old. The dude's not going to add any more weight. He's not going to change who he is at this point. If anything, he's going to regress a little. And that's what I like to talk about. This is a guy with a lot of game experience, a lot to be known about this man. And I want to add a little bit to that picture for y'all because there's a lot out there that we know who this guy is at this point. So to begin with, a lot of people really start off by talking about, oh, he came out of Sam Houston State. He's a small school player. Bullshit. They don't know anything about this guy. Yes, he came out of Sam Houston State on 1 year, but anywhere he started his career in college. This kid was a bigger recruit than that. Came out of SMU. All right. This kid played 3 years at SMU, and they weren't very good years at SMU, guys. 3 of his years at SMU, he did not have an impressive touchdown to interception ratio. His completion ratio wasn't very good. Like, there's a reason why he left SMU, guys, and headed over to Sam Houston State. Okay? So there's a track record of some questionability at times with his decision making, especially early on. I don't think that's a question now unless he's pressured. Let's get into his 1 year at Sam Houston State. 1 year at Sam Houston State, he tosses 32 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He's got a very good quarterback rating that year. I mean, they weren't really tracking it then, but looking at it today, it was a very good year for him. He was third team division AA All-American. He was the Southland Football League's Player of the Year. This was 2001, 2002 season, I think, somewhere in that area, guys. 2002 draft is when he came out, so I'm going to say it was the 2001 season. He becomes the third-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals for the 2002 draft. And that's the origins of this older man. He's not really a young man. He's older than me, which is not normal, guys. Not normal for me analyzing football players who are older than myself. There's only a handful of them. All right, let me jump into some of his experience. All right, so the Philadelphia Eagles will make his 9th football team in 18 seasons. So this will be his 18th season, like his number 18, which has been covered quite extensively. With that said, 5 out of the 9 teams that he's been with have been multiple year stints, so more than 1 season. Okay? Breaking that down, it's basically Arizona, Carolina, Chicago, Cleveland, and the Jets he had multiple years with. I highly doubt he's going to have a multiple year stint with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's 40 years old, guys. I can't see that happening. So that's just the basics on it. So let me speak a little more to what we know about him from film. The film tells us that this kid really made his mark with the 2013 Bears, where he started a handful of games, 4 or 5, 6 games, something like that. He really emerged on the scene, had a great run with the Bears that year. Hint, hint, he's got some familiarity with Alshon Jeffrey, and that's going to do him good as the backup here. And that really brought him on the scene. I mean, he was already kind of a known backup commodity. He was a 3rd-round pick, but that really opened people's eyes to him. And this was much later in his career, by the way, because he's been in the league since 2002. So 2013, he kind of really emerges as, wow, this kid's got a little something to him. Past that, he had really good statistical years with the 2015 Browns and 2017 Jets. Outside of that, there's really nothing exceptional on his track record. But we do know a lot about this man. And what we know about this man is that he has adequate arm strength, not great arm strength. If he is throwing down the field, trying to hit his receiver in stride, does quite well. He's very great on those go routes, those deep go routes, those Deshaun Jackson-esque passes, those thrown up in the air, let Alshon Jeffrey make a play on the ball type passes. He's going to be really good at. However, he's great at timing routes, but not deep timing routes. So those deep comeback routes, that's not the strength of his game. Although I will say this, the intermediate passing game to your tight ends, your receivers, right? Those type of routes, those intermediate routes that involve timing, if you give this man time in the pocket, he can pick you apart. He has the accuracy, he has the timing, and he's got the arm strength to really take you apart. And that's where his strength is. Now, I will say this. In the past, he has shown athleticism that is surprising. You don't really, expect it coming out of him. But I'll tell you, a kid that came out of NC State that I'm very familiar with is a more talented version of him, which is Ryan Finley, the rookie out of Cincinnati this year. This kid has got experience. Similar track record to where, he played at a school, although he didn't go down to a smaller school. He actually transferred up to a larger school. But, he started his career all the way out west, spent a few years out that way with Boise State, got run out of Boise State because of injury, landed at NC State, and opened up people's eyes with his 3 years at NC State. He's a great quarterback. This kid's got good timing. He can throw to intermediate routes. He's got adequate arm strength, not great arm strength. Josh McCown, I think Ryan Finley's kind of a copy of him, just a slightly more talented version of Josh McCown. Where Josh McCown's game is going to struggle is going to be, number one, his age. Bro, we had to convince him to come out of retirement. The first time he has to come in a game and he gets smacked around, oof, it'd be interesting to see if he's going to get up and want to come back the next week. Second thing about him is when there's pressure on him, as great as he is, and I'll tell you, he can read coverages. He's not weak at reading coverages. He won't hold the ball too long, per se. But if you put pressure on him, he's been known to make some really foolish mistakes with the football. Sometimes even funny and hilarious mistakes with the football. So we've got to keep him upright. We've got to keep the blitzers off of him. My perception of Josh McCown is he's a guy who has lesser arm strength than Nick Foles. But if you put him in situations similar to Nick Foles, let's be real. Nick Foles did not light the world on fire when we tried to make him run a Carson Wentz type offense. He was very underwhelming the regular season in that first preseason game until we really molded a system around him. Doug Peterson did. When I say we, I mean Doug Peterson and the coaching staff. So I think, if you're holding those linebackers with some play action, you're helping him out with a running game, he could be a very, very serviceable backup, especially considering the talent we have at the skill positions around him, running back, receiver, and tight end. My opinion of it, this was a great signing. I think that this absolutely has something to do with the Eagles' confidence right now in Nate Sudfeld. Obviously, they would have preferred for him to be healthy, but I don't know if it's skill set. I think the Eagles think that Nate Sudfeld could play if he had to play. I think it has to do with the injury. I think the injury to that wrist may be a little more than what they're letting on, and he might miss more than 2 to 4 weeks of the regular season. He might be out a little longer than that. That would be my belief in that. But more than anything, I think it also has to do with a lack of belief still in Clayton Thorson, and a general concern with the health of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is healthy right now. And look, there's nothing you can do about injury, man. It's football. People get hurt. It's not Carson Wentz's fault that he was hurt. Yes, he could get rid of the ball faster, of course. But look, he's a playmaker. When you're a playmaker, you're going to expose yourself to hits. It's going to happen. The Eagles know if they're going to have a guy who's going to live by the seam of his pants, you better have an insurance policy behind them. The Eagles know that, and they went out and got it. Why not let Nate Sudfeld just roll in there? He's got the talent. He's got the arm strength. He's got the height. He's got the weight. He's got everything you want out of that, right? Because we're a Super Bowl caliber team. We want someone more experienced back there, especially knowing that he's already got an injury That's the short of what I see going on there. Turning my attention to the Brett Toth signing. Intriguing young man. Some of y'all are out there saying that you think this is proof that Halapali Vaitai is going to get traded. Bullshit. I don't see it that way. I'm not the Eagles front office. I'm not their scouting department. I'm not Howie Roseman. So at the end of the day, all I can go off is a gut instinct as well. But here's what I'm going to tell you. From what I have seen, they're very, very pleased with Halapali Vaitai's play. Halapuli Vaitai's play. They really like how well he's done at the guard position and filling in that guard tackle swing candidate position. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. I can't see them weakening the offensive line, which is entirely too important. And let's be real. If Stefan Wisniewski and Matt Pryor were stepping up, sure, this could be an indication that the Eagles would be looking to get value out of Halapai, Vaitai's, positioning with the team. But let's be real. I think this move has less to do with Halapuli Vaitai and way more to do with how dissatisfied the Eagles are with Matt Pryor and Stefan Wisniewski. Okay? I think the drafting of Andrew Dillard, the growth of Sua Opeta, the growth of Nate Herbig, the growth of Keegan Render, and, the little bit we've seen of Jordan, well, a lot of it. We've seen a lot of Jordan Malachi this year. I think that these players are showing and developing. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Pryor and Stefan Wisniewski weren't really on the cut block. They weren't on the chopping block, to be real with you. And I'm a person who predicted both of them to be on there. Now, I did note that I didn't think Matt Pryor was showing a whole lot after a whole year of experience in the system. I said that on the eve of training camp, before training camp even started, and I think he's proved the point that he's not ready. There's moments. He's shown a little bit here in run blocking every now and then. But I got to be real with you. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on him. I'm less sold on Stefan Wisniewski. But I got to be real with you. I don't think Vaitai is going anywhere. I don't. I think Vaitai and Isaac Suomalu are definitely looking great. These are guys that the coaching staff has developed, and I think they like them in their roles with the Philadelphia Eagles. You take Vaitai out of the picture, and that's a lot of pressure on Jordan Mailata to prove something. And I don't think Jordan Mailata is ready for that yet. I don't. I think he's still another year away. This is a kid who had no football experience before this. I don't think Matt Pryor showed you enough to put confidence in him. And let's be real. I don't think Stefan Wisniewski is a scrub, and I don't think he's had a fair shot yet at that center position. And there's been a lot of in and out of the quarterback play, and timing and rhythm has a lot to do with it, especially if the guy hasn't played back there in a few years. With that said, look, Jeff Stoutland, he's not a Wisniewski guy. Wisniewski started, right? Just like Vaitai started on the Eagles Super Bowl run, right? He started that Super Bowl. But he's not athletic enough to, garner the praise and the comfort of the offensive line play in Philadelphia. They're not happy with him. You can't turn your eye to Stoutland and turn a blind eye to Stoutland and his viewpoint about this. To me, Brett Toth is a developmental piece. I think that Sua Peta, Nate Herbig, and Keegan Render have a real shot to make this roster. I think Matt Pryor and Stefan Wisniewski better wake up and better show something these next 2 weeks, because I think their butts are in trouble. But look, that's the way I see it, guys. That's my news for the week. In terms of what I think about Chris Worley, the other big signing, I don't know yet, guys. I don't know a whole lot about this kid. I know he was a major recruit coming out of high school. I know this kid had a, up and down, very talented player in college kind of career. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him, guys. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what to make of the signing. We've got to let this young man come in, see how he fits the system. He's got a lot He's got a lot to prove to make the roster. I think this is more of a camp body with practice squad potential, if I'm going to be honest. But we'll see. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I got a lot to edit here, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. If y'all can do me 3 things, like, share, and subscribe. That's my ask, guys. All right, y'all. You know what time of the day it is? It's that time to say E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Bye. Peace.